The stunning Matanuska Glacier is one of the most amazing experiences my dad and I had while we were in Alaska. This glacier is located about an hour and a half north of Anchorage and is the largest glacier that's accessible by car in the United States. When we visited, access was only via guided tour. We booked a tour, got all of our stuff, and got ready to experience the glacier. On this trip, we hiked a few miles onto the glacier, drank clear glacial water, and just got to experience an amazing natural wonder. Here's all the information. After taking the scenic drive on Glen Highway from Anchorage, we made it to the turnoff for the glacier. From here, you travel down a dirt road and across a few bridges in order to get to the glacier check-in area. This check-in building is as far as you can drive without a ticket. Got our tickets and we are ready to go. So this glacier is privately owned, so you can't actually even get close to it without paying for a tour. So we booked the tour, which was $65 right now, and we're gonna drive out and meet our guide and start the hike. Oh my gosh. Wow. Look at what we just saw. We have made it to the glacier.
Incredibly beautiful.
Just getting to this viewpoint is worth the price of admission. It is stunning to see the glacier from here. You can see people climbing on the glacier right there. Basically, where those people are at in this clip is where we get to at the end of this video. The next order of business was to check in for our tour, get our helmets, and try on our crampons. First thing we're doing is trying to find a helmet for Pop's massive head. We got our crampons and our helmets, and we're getting ready to go out. After meeting up with our guide, there was about 10 of us that set out on the group tour. It's 3 miles round trip to get to the glacier, hike on it, and get back. Setting out on our hike to the glacier. Along the way, our guide stopped often to tell us about the area and the topography. I will say that I learned a ton about glaciers while I was here, and it was definitely a benefit of the tour. There's areas where they let us touch the water, areas where we talked about the ice. Overall, a really cool experience with the guide. As you make your way out in the beginning, it's basically just walking on mud with many great views of the glacier in the distance. I'm sure this changes all the time depending on the season that you visit though. I heard that in the winter, they actually have to take you up with snowmobiles to the glacier in order to start the hike. Even before we made it to the glacier, I was blown away by how beautiful this trail was with the mountains that surrounded us in the valley we were in. In some areas like this one, there were literal mountains of ice and you could push away the dirt and it was clear to look into. Things are about to get serious. We were putting on microspikes. Pop's first time ever putting microspikes on. After about a mile of walking, we left the mud behind and we were on ice the whole rest of the way to the glacier. This is why we put the microspikes on, so we could get used to walking on the ice and also be prepared for when the ice was a lot more intense later on. Because of a feature of the glacier, this water actually flows uphill over there. Yeah, I don't know how a lot of the science of the glaciers work, but our guide told us a lot of cool stuff, so I wanted to share that in the video. My dad continued to complain about the size of his helmet as we walked towards the glacier. By this time we were walking on legit ice and you had to be a lot more careful with your steps. If you have one, I'd recommend bringing a hiking pole as it makes this part of the hike and coming back easier. It was crazy to be able to get a sense of scale for the glacier when you saw little people climbing around it in front of you. During this part of the trail, we began walking along a crevasse, and this was one of the most beautiful things we saw on our glacier hike. Our guide gave us a decent amount of time here to take photos. We're almost out on the actual glacier. We've been walking on the ice, but that seems even more cool. The glacier has a little waterfall right there. There were a few parts of the walk where you had to navigate small little creeks. After navigating a small hill at the beginning of the glacier, that ended up being the end point for our hike. This glacier is 27 miles long, and in some sections it's 4 miles wide, so when we got to the end point for our hike, it was like 0.001% of the glacier. We made it to the top of the glacier.
Right.
I don't know where my dad's excitement was on that last clip, but here's a clip of me being excited, but you can't hear anything I'm saying because of the wind. Now we're making our way back down. This is highly recommended. That was a lot of fun, and it's cool to be on the glacier. It's the first time I've ever been on a glacier like that. Little pockets of water and water flow. On the way down, the hike feels a lot more sketchy with the microspikes and the steep ice. This is where a hiking pole comes in handy if you bring one. We got to take a different route on the way back, and that was another highlight for this trip. There's also a more intense tour which those people are doing, which includes rappelling and other things on the glacier. If I come back again, I definitely look at doing one of the more intense hikes here, as I think it'd be cool to go through some of the crevasses and to do some rappelling. However, this was a great introduction to the glacier, and I definitely wasn't disappointed. Epic. Right now we are about to fill up our water bottle from the glacial waterfall. Fresh glacial water. It's nice. It's freezing cold too. Pop's getting that glacial water. Woo! Pop's traversing a waterfall. After letting the whole group fill up their water bottles and make it across the traverse, it was time to start heading back. On our way back, we took a path that allowed us to come right in front of the face of the glacier. This is where we got some of the best views and best pictures, plus it was just crazy to be able to see the glacier from this angle and to notice how big it truly was. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. It's so epic. That's the ridge that we just came down right here. And we are greeted with this view. Ta-da!
Drinking glacier water on the glacier. It's wonderful.
Refreshing.
So nice.
I asked our guide why the glacier gives off a blue hue, and she said it's because the density of the ice absorbs all the other colors of the light except for blue. Eventually, we had to say goodbye to the glacier and start the long walk back. Here are a few more clips from the hike back. Pop's review.
That was an amazing experience. The hike was a little easier than I thought it would be, but great learning about glaciers and what they're about, and yeah, I recommend it, really do.
Pops gives it 2 thumbs up.
Absolutely.
If you're heading back to Anchorage after the hike, be sure to look out for an overlook on the right-hand side. From here you can get some great views back towards the glacier you just hiked on. Also, take your time on the way back to Anchorage, as this was such a beautiful drive for us. Along the way, we even got to stop and see a moose in the water. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.